it fled to the wilderness.
And the woman, true church, fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of Yahuwah, that they should feed her there 1,260 days.
The wilderness, then, in prophecy, is a figure of speech signifying the harsh conditions facing a church in a particular period in her history. Did the Catholic Church enter her wilderness experience just as Yahuwah's true church came out of theirs? Yes, this was exactly the case. In 1798, the Catholic Church not only lost her temporal power over the kings, dukes, and princes of much of Europe, but was in fact no longer free to carry her own ecclesiastical privileges, such as selecting a pope to succeed Pius VI. Her representatives needed the permission of Napoleon Bonaparte before they could appoint Pius VII in 1800 to succeed Pope Pius VI, who died in exile a year earlier in 1799 in Valence, France. From 1798, when Pope Pius VI was banished to Valence by the French general Berthier, up to 1870, when Rome was usurped by the Italian army, the Roman Catholic Church was entrenched in her wilderness experience. This was a far cry from the dominating beast status she had enjoyed during the Middle Ages, when she was the greatest power in Europe, including every king of the Western European empires for hundreds of years. She either directly or through her overpowering influence of European rulers caused the martyrdom of close to 100 million of Yahuwah's faithful followers. Rome was made the new capital of the Kingdom of Italy in 1861, and finally overtaken in 1870. Pope Pius IX considered himself a prisoner of the Vatican, as it was the only part of Rome not taken over by the Italian troops. It was incomprehensible for the Roman pontiff to be the head of Catholics the world over, yet in his own country be subjected to another head of state. After 1870, Italians found themselves torn between their commitment to the Catholic Church and their allegiance to their newly established country. This unresolved tension between both sides undermined the new country internationally as well as domestically. A solution for the Roman question, the political dispute between the Italian state and the papacy, must be found. In 1922, both Benito Mussolini and Pope Pius XI came to power. By 1929, they had ultimately found a solution to the thorny Roman question. And on February 11, 1929, the Lateran Treaty was signed between Italy and the Holy See. The Italian state recognized the sovereignty of the Catholic Church and regarded the Church as an independent member of the international community. By this agreement, the Church obtained an independent state in Rome with an area of about 44 hectares, or 108.5 acres. The Pope became recognized as the absolute monarch over the Vatican. In 1929, the commencement of the title King, expressed in verse 10 of Revelation 17, was given to the Bishop of Rome for the very first time. The Catholic Church, however, is still in its wilderness existence in relation to its status prior to 1798, when she was the beast of the Middle Ages. However, the Lateran Treaty was the best agreement the Church of Rome could obtain to restore the Pope back to his sovereign status. The new king could now travel freely from his Vatican kingdom to keep his global organization under pontifical scrutiny without the permission of the Italian government. He could now issue his own passport as a sovereign king. In 1929, the count of the 7 kings of Revelation 17 commenced. This timeline of kings since the 1929 Lateran Treaty reveals the astounding prophetic news that we have been living under the reign of the 7th king since 2005, when King Pope Benedict XVI acceded to the throne of the Vatican City-State. However, his reign is destined to be of a short duration.
And when he cometh, he must continue a short space.
If we exclude the shortest papal reign of 33 days by John Paul I, it would seem that a short space for a pope would be any period between 5 and 10 years. Now let us move on to the 8th king, who will be last pope. The 8th king, Pope, will arise from the bottomless pit.
The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition.
Where is the bottomless pit? The Greek word translated bottomless pit is abyssos, which has the English counterpart, abyss. The following verses clearly define the abyssos.
There met him, Yahushua, out of the city a certain man, which had devils a long time. And Yahushua asked him, saying, What is thy name? And he said, Legion, because many devils were entered into him. And they besought him that he would not command them to go out into the deep, abyssos. Then went the devils out of the man and entered into the swine.
The bottomless pit is therefore an invisible location established by Yahuwah for the imprisonment of some of the fallen angels. Bottomless pit equals the prison house of the fallen angels. The 8th king, Pope, will not be human, but rather a fallen angel. The prophecy contains another important key in determining the identity of the 8th king. The 8th and final king will also be one of the 7 kings.
The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. And there are 7 kings, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7th, and goeth into perdition.
The angel tells us 3 times that the beast was, is not, and yet shall be. This is a most important point.